guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, welcome to my channel. This is yet another Q&A about moving to New Zealand. I received so many emails and so many questions, and I love connecting with everyone who is contemplating or in the middle of this adventure and moving to New Zealand, and it's really exciting. I just feel really bad that I can't connect with everybody the way I'd like to and reply to everyone's emails. So hopefully answering questions in this video will be helpful. I will link the playlist so you can see all of the other videos like this and all of the other questions that have been asked. If you have any new questions, feel free to leave them in a comment below, or email me, or Facebook message, or however you want to get in touch with me. There's numerous ways. So hopefully I'll be able to answer your question in the next video. So I have a ton of questions, so I'm going to jump into them. I've just got them on my phone here. I've tried to categorize the questions. So the first lot of questions are about jobs. I've been asked, what are the opportunities for us available? I will link the New Zealand Careers website. That's really helpful. It tells you job availability of any particular position. It tells you salary expectations. It tells you training. So that is a really helpful website, and I will link it. You can also try Trade Me. All of these sites will be linked down below. Trade Me is where you will go for any information on buying things secondhand, buying properties, renting properties, jobs. Also seek.co.nz is a good job website to go and look for jobs. So as for job availabilities, those are the places you'll have to look. I can't help you with that, I'm afraid. Also, job availability is going to vary regionally, so it depends on what city or area that you're looking at. I was asked, what is the best job to do in New Zealand? Same answer. There are skills shortages, and I will link the skills shortage list down below for you, so you can see, is your profession on the skills shortage list or not? And if it is, you're in luck, because those are jobs that we don't have enough people to fill. So you will have an easier time getting into New Zealand. You'll be able to gain more points for your application if your job is on the skills shortage list. I was asked, is farming possible to do a job for a living there? Yes, there are plenty of farmers. Where I live in South Taranaki, there are dairy farms all around us. Farming is definitely a job. It depends on what kind of farming. Obviously that's going to limit you to where you go in the country. Like I said, here is predominantly dairy farming. I believe in Northland there's orchards and apples, and I don't know, there's different kinds of farming in different areas of the country. I was asked if there are other cities to go to with the same kind of job opportunities as Auckland but lower living costs. Now, a quarter of the entire country, North and South Islands population, lives in Auckland. So there's nothing else comparable, but there are obviously other big cities. Unfortunately, living in a big city with more job opportunities and more kind of resources, you're going to pay higher prices for housing, and it's also going to be more densely populated. So it depends on what you want. Have a look around, like I said, on Trade Me. Look in the areas you're thinking of, looking in different cities, and see if there are jobs there, and see what the rents and house prices are like, and you can do your research, you can work it out for yourself. I'm not an expert, so I'm afraid I can't help you any more than that. I was also asked a few questions about becoming a police officer in New Zealand. For those of you who don't know, my husband is a police officer, and we came over on his, he had a job, and that's what enabled us to get residency. So when he applied to join, they were actively recruiting from abroad, and that's when he applied, when we lived in England. However, right after he applied, they stopped recruiting from abroad. They allowed him to go through because they had just received his application and assigned him a case officer. Literally like a week later, they said, sorry, we're not recruiting from abroad anymore, and we freaked out. But they allowed him to continue with his application. Now what this meant is there was no expedited training. He had to fly out to New Zealand to do all of his testing and interview and physical tests as part of the application process. And once he was accepted and we moved to New Zealand, none of his previous experience counted for anything. He had to start as a brand new officer, and he had to go away to Wellington for 4.5 months to do the full training. There wasn't any shortened training course or anything, and he started as if he was starting brand new. So they are not currently recruiting from abroad as far as I know. I will leave a website down below that may be helpful. But you'd have to go through the normal process and apply as if you're a brand new officer applying, unfortunately. So you will need residency before you join the police. So hopefully the website down below will help you and that will answer some questions. I'm just trying to whiz through this because I have so many questions. The next set of questions that I have is about money. So I've been asked, what is the amount you should budget to make the move to New Zealand? That really varies. I don't know. It's going to vary for everybody. It's going to depend on, are you bringing a pet over? That's mega expensive. How many people in your family are flying? Where are you flying from? How big is the container that you're going to have? We had a 20-foot container and it cost us £4,000 5.5 years ago to ship from England to New Zealand. So obviously where you're coming from will affect that price, how much stuff you're bringing, all of those kind of things. So I can't actually give you a set dollar amount, I'm sorry, but it's going to be expensive. That's all I can tell you. It's going to cost a lot of money. Our medical tests, we all had to have full medicals with chest x-rays. Well, the kids didn't have to have chest x-rays, but we did. And that cost £700 each to get that done. That was really expensive. If you're using an immigration agent, you're going to have those fees. Unless you're confident that you're starting your job really soon, you're going to want to cover your living expenses until your job starts. You're going to need a deposit when you rent a place. So all of those things need to be factored in on your budget. I was asked about opening a business in New Zealand, moving here and starting a business, and is it easy or expensive and what should we know about that? And the specific examples they mentioned is like a restaurant or a cafe or a cake shop or something. Now, when you look on the business for sale websites, again, I'll link those down below, they are all about cafes and restaurants. That's all you ever see, and salons. That's all you ever see. So I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. I would take it as a bad sign. Things are not working out for people and they're selling the businesses. But again, prices vary. It depends on how big the business is. It depends on where it is. So I'm not an expert, and all I can do is link you and start you off on a place to do your own research. Somebody asked me if they had around 150,000 New Zealand dollars, would that be enough to move and set up a business? And I would say yes, it would be. That would cover all of your immigration expenses, and I would say that would be enough to, I don't know about, it depends on what your business is. Obviously, if you're starting up a business that's going to have a lot of stock and a lot of inventory, you're going to need a lot of money for that. If you are beginning a small business where you're working from home and it's a service you're providing, your overheads are going to be lower. So but I would say 150,000 New Zealand dollars should be enough to immigrate and start a small business. I think it would be enough. I was asked about housing and how much that costs for a house in a decent area. Again, trade me, that varies enormously from area to area, like hugely. The house that we are living in, we bought this house for under 200,000, and an equivalent house on a quarter of the size of property where we moved from in Auckland, South Auckland, would be 500,000. So it varies enormously from area to area, and even within a city, you know, from different place to place. So do your research on Trade Me, and if possible, try and get in touch with locals and ask them which parts of the town are good and bad. I was also asked about what income would a single person living frugally be able to live comfortably on, and I don't know, it depends on so many things and which area you live in, and I really can't even guess, honestly. We're a family of 4, we've only been here 5.5 years, and we are working out our own living expenses, so I have no idea what a single person would be able to live on. If anybody would be able to help this person with their question, please leave a comment down below and say what you think a salary that a single person could live comfortably on. Well, they say frugally and comfortably, so there you go. Can you answer that question for them? Okay, I was asked a lot of questions about why we chose New Zealand, why we left England, and all of those kind of things. So the first question I'll tackle is why we hated England so much and wanted to leave. Now, I've mentioned in previous videos that when I thought of spending the rest of my life in England, I actually felt panicked, like I just couldn't do it. And people have wondered why, like what was so bad? England is not a bad place. It is a beautiful country. It has so many benefits. It has so many good points. It just wasn't a good fit for me and for our family. Now, I come from South Africa originally, and like I said before, you cannot take a girl out of Africa and put her in the weather of England and expect her to thrive. Well, that was true for me anyway. So some of the factors that made us want to leave England were the weather. I mean, the weather is a huge one. Also the overcrowding, it is just so densely populated everywhere you go that that's just not for us. Also there's kind of societal things like that sense of entitlement and people taking offense and suing each other and that kind of thing. We're just not into that. Kind of intolerance sometimes, people bullying, and it just wasn't really for us. We didn't want our kids being raised. Our deadline was leaving before our eldest went to high school. Like I said, it is not a bad place. It's not a bad place to raise kids. It's not a horrible country. It just wasn't for us. It's not what we wanted. It's not the values we wanted. It's not the lifestyle we wanted. So that is why we chose to leave. That's why we just felt like we couldn't live the rest of our lives there, because it just didn't suit us. I was also asked, how did we just make that decision, like, yes, this is what we want to do, this is the right place for us to go to. So I guess that will take us to how we chose New Zealand, because I was also asked, why didn't you choose Canada? Why didn't you choose Australia? Now, when we decided we needed to leave England and that wasn't the right place for us to be, we then had to choose where we're going to, obviously. And for me, the criteria were English-speaking country, somewhere we could enjoy an outdoor lifestyle, and the three options that were available to us were Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. So at one point we had 100% decided we were going to move to Australia, but the more we researched, the more we just felt it wasn't the right fit for us. Now, these are just our decisions and our experience, and you may disagree with them or say, oh, that's wrong, Australia's not like that, but we just felt that the extreme heat was not for us. We had heard that there were problems with racism. There's bushfires, there's dust storms, and there are creatures that can kill you. There are just way too many dangerous creatures, from spiders to snakes to jellyfish to saltwater crocodiles to freaking everything. We just decided that is not what we wanted. And Canada was, we had 100% then decided to move to Canada, and the more we researched and looked at that, we just felt like, yes, it's beautiful and you can enjoy the outdoor lifestyle and the summers are amazing. We had decided on BC, by the way. But the winters are just too long and snowy and cold, and that was not for us. So the more we researched, the more we felt that New Zealand was the right fit for us. And it really has turned out to be perfect for us. We absolutely love it here and couldn't think of a place on earth that is better fit for us. We were asked which country is more developed, New Zealand or UK? New Zealand has the infrastructure you need. Obviously you're going to have more resources and facilities and infrastructure in the biggest cities than you do further out. For example, fiber broadband, we don't have fiber in our area. So we have pretty fast broadband, but it is not fiber because that's not available to us. So things like that. Yes, the resources and development and technology is available here, but not everywhere, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't say the UK is more developed than New Zealand. I would just say it's more consistently developed than New Zealand. But I mean, we live a first world life, we don't lack for anything, so yeah. So I was asked, how do you make the decision to move your whole life and family to a country that you've never even visited? You just do your research, you do thorough research, you talk to people who live there, and you decide like this could work for us or not, and you give it a try. It just, yeah, it takes guts and it takes money and it's expensive and it's hard, and well, what is the worst that can happen? You hate it, so you go back home. What have you lost? You've lost money. That's all. And I don't say that lightly because we are not rich. Like, we are so not rich. But the benefits that are available to you, the benefits that could happen from this move, and you've done your research and you're pretty sure this is a good fit for you, it's not that much of a risk, really. Just give it a go. Have some courage, have some guts, and go out there and do it. I mean, these experiences, even if they don't work out and you end up hating it and going back, they will change you. They will be such a source of personal growth and learning that it's still worth doing. Okay, then I had a bunch of general questions. A lot of people asked about earthquakes. Obviously with the recent earthquake that happened, people are freaking out. It's not a big deal. Obviously, if you live in the place that it happened and you are affected and your house is damaged, or God forbid you lose a loved one, Obviously, that's a big deal. I'm not trying to minimize what it is like for the people at the epicenter. But yes, we felt the earthquake throughout the entire country, but it's okay. Like, we just go on. Life is normal. Things shake around and you think, whoa, is this one going to be bad? And then it wasn't. And yeah, one day it could be the bad one, but it's not something you worry about on a daily basis. You get your emergency pack ready and you just go about your life. It's just kind of normal life here. So many earthquakes. Like, I think it was like 250,000 earthquakes a year happen in New Zealand. Most of them you don't even feel, but they're happening all the time. It's just a factor of life here, and you don't walk around living in fear for it or panicking, or like, you know, you take measures to be prepared as much as you can, and then you just go about your life. So we did obviously know about that before we moved here. You know, as part of your research, earthquakes in New Zealand is going to come up, and we chose to move here anyway because it's not, I don't know, we just felt like it wasn't a huge risk that was going to affect our daily life. So I will link to a website called GeoNet. You can see the earthquakes that happen all the time. That's where you'll go if you experience an earthquake. You can submit a felt it report and say, this is where we felt it and this is how bad it was, so they kind of track it. So you can see the earthquakes that are happening all the time. And yes, occasionally a really bad one happens, but like I said, it's not something that affects us day to day. I was asked if our family is going to apply for New Zealand citizenship, and the answer is yes. Our passports are coming up for renewal. In fact, I think they have expired. And so we are going to just apply for New Zealand citizenship and get New Zealand passports. We hope to do that next year. Oh my word, so many people ask me, can I move to New Zealand and bring my guns? Seriously. So the answer is yes, you can bring your guns. There's not a gun culture here. You're not going to be able to carry them. So I don't know. People here get rifles for hunting, and getting a rifle license is pretty straightforward because that's the usual use of it. You get a rifle and you take it hunting in the bush, and you shoot bush pigs or possums because they're pests. So you can get a rifle license. Any other kind of gun, there are criteria you have to meet and hoops you have to jump through to get a license, and you're not going to be able to carry it. So that's the answer to the gun question. And you won't need to carry it. Like, this is the safest country in the world. You're not going to need to carry a gun. I was asked about driver's license by somebody who lives in the UK and wants to know, can they come over and convert their license, or do they need to take a test? We just came over, we went in, where did we go? It was a post job, like a post office. We just went in, had photos taken, and had new licenses made from our British license. So that was enough to just convert. If you're moving from a country which drives on the opposite side of the road, I don't know if there are other things you need to do, but that is the answer for a UK license. I was asked about making friends, especially if you're introverted or shy, and this is kind of a tricky one because you really have to put yourself out there. I am super introverted. I can bring it at a party, but it drains me. And I just forced myself to say yes to everything. If I was ever invited to anything, I went. I got involved at church. I got involved as much as I could and put myself out there, even though it was pretty stressful at a pretty stressful time, but I made an effort to do that because I knew I wanted that support network, especially because my husband was away for 4.5 months and he left 6 weeks after we arrived in New Zealand. So yeah, I worked really hard to put myself out there, to meet people, to get involved. Church really helped. So if you can just find something, a church, a group, a volunteer group, a craft group, a gardening group, whatever you're into, try and find a group in your local area to get involved in. Even though it's going to push you out of your comfort zone, it's going to be stressful, but you just have to do it to meet people and to form those relationships. It's so important to have that support network and to try and form those friendships to overcome loneliness. It's really important, and it really helps when the homesickness hits and when you're feeling really stressed and isolated. So you just have to force yourself to do it. That's the only way around it. I was asked about how the Maori culture is incorporated in schools and daily life. So at school every morning they sing a Maori song and do a prayer, and they learn some of the language as well, some of the words, and in high school is the language class. So that is how it is incorporated in school and daily life. I was asked about shipping things over, how much our container cost us, and like I said, that was £4,000, and what you can and can't bring. I will link down below to a list or to a website which helps you with what you can and can't bring into the country. And a couple of people asked me, like, why can't you bring wicker baskets and what's up with wicker baskets? And that is because any kind of seeds or plant material that could interfere with the ecosystem here, there are strict guidelines about bringing those into the country because we want to protect our ecosystem. So wicker baskets are, unfortunately, and I don't even know why, because they are like commercially treated baskets and they're not raw plant materials. But anyway, apparently that is on the list. Some people have brought theirs over successfully and some people have had problems, so we just chose to leave all of ours behind. So hopefully this video isn't too long. I hope that answered the questions. Again, I'm not an expert. These are just my opinions and my experience. If you do have any more questions though, I'll do my best to answer them. So leave them down below or get in touch by email or on my Facebook page, and hopefully I'll be able to help you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.